All across Europe, cheers erupted, confetti filled the air, and people hugged each other tightly in the streets. It was the day millions had waited for. During 6 nightmare years, Nazi Germany had officially surrendered, marking the end of World War II in Europe. Flags of victory waved in the wind. Church bells rang throughout England. Children ran through the streets of Paris. Draped in tiny flags, people carved the words, V-Day, Victory in Europe Day, into history. Yet somewhere, there was no wine, no cheers, no embrace. Only fire, smoke, and the scream of bullets splitting the air. In that place, the war had not ended. That place was Texel, a small island isolated in the North Sea. Part of the Netherlands, a place the world had seemingly forgotten. Since 1940, Texel had been occupied by the Germans. No one imagined that this distant island would be the site where war would still rage on, even after the rest of Europe had laid down its arms. On Texel, the Germans stationed a peculiar unit, around 800 Georgian soldiers. Former Red Army troops, they had been captured as prisoners of war, then forced to fight for their captors. The unit was named the 822nd Battalion, Koningen Tamara, after a revered Georgian queen. They wore the uniform of the invader, but in their hearts, they were still men longing to return home. April 5, 1945. A moonless night, the sea wind cut like a blade. That night, more than 800 Georgians did something insane. They rebelled right in the heart of the German ranks, the very people who controlled them, imprisoned them, and could execute them without warning. There was no shouted command, only whispers. We have nothing left to lose. Better to die as Georgians than live as tools of the invader. Then, a muffled blast, a flicker of light in the darkness. They stormed the German barracks. It's said they used daggers, grenades, even the gravediggers' shovels, weapons of silence. This wasn't just a rebellion, it was revenge carried out in shadow. One by one, German soldiers were struck down before they had the chance to awaken. A young Georgian soldier knelt beside the body of the man he'd just killed. Eyes burning, voice choked. I didn't kill him out of duty. I killed him so I could live, just once, as a human being. Around 400 German soldiers died that first night. But Germany does not forgive rebellion. Hours later, reinforcements landed from the mainland. Artillery was set up, armored vehicles rolled through small roads, crushing tulips still wet with spring dew. Dutch civilians were trapped between the lines. Ancient homes were burned to ash. Farmers who never understood what was happening became victims overnight. A Dutch man asked in despair, "Why won't this war ever leave us?" A Georgian soldier, eyes lowered, replied, "Because we rose up too late." May 8, 1945, VE Day. The world declared peace. But Texel burned on. No ceasefire order was ever sent here. No treaty could pass through this storm of bullets. The Georgians fought on, even as their food ran out, even as their bullets dwindled to a final few. A soldier named Vano whispered, "Does anyone even know we're still alive?" His friend, clutching a bleeding wound, said, "Maybe only when the last of us is gone." May 20, 1945. 12 days after V Day. Nearly 2 months since the rebellion began. Canadian forces finally reached Texel. They came with news that the war had ended. But when they set foot on the sand, they heard no celebratory gunfire. Only silence, smoke, ruins, and the still bodies of the fallen. The last battle of Europe was over. More than 565 Georgians lay on that island, never to return home. They died in the uniform of their enemy, but their hearts never belonged to it. Nearly 100 Dutch civilians, people with no stake in the conflict, died for a belief in freedom. German soldiers, men who also fought under orders, were now buried in fields they never meant to walk. After the war, the surviving Georgians returned home to be branded as traitors by the Soviet Union. They, who had risen up against fascism, were rejected by their own motherland. But in Texel, on that soil where they fell, the Dutch did not forget. 228 Georgian graves lie beneath the shade of poplar trees. Many unmarked, some bearing only 2 words. We remember. Each year, the people of Texel place flowers. The old bowed their heads. Children read their names. Men who once stood on opposite sides of a divided world, but chose the right side in the final night. The war in Europe ended on May 8th. But on Texel, it only truly ended on May 20th. And so, they call it the day the war ended twice.